We're live. Oh, there's Cobran. Hey everybody, welcome to Lorelines, Fowl and Hawk speaking. Episode 65 today, fanfic, world building, and patch art. Last night we had an amazing, in my opinion, because I was nervous as hell all week, and then was super excited yesterday, panel at Lunarcon, and Arden and Sarah, core healer, with me, and we had a good time. Had some of the members in-game on Brynhilder. Chat was lively. I think Ayumi was keeping track of how many people we had. Wasn't it over 200 or something?
It was, yes.
That's crazy, and I wasn't even looking. But I'm so grateful that everybody came out, and it's absolute blast. Sarah's running a bit late today. Had some things to handle RL, but we'll probably be here a bit later. But yeah, welcome everybody. Meowth, Arden, Cobran, Neela, Ayumi.
I'm still drunk from the after party.
I'm re-stimulated with stimulants. Got the coffee going.
Yeah, I've got my Irish coffee.
When you say stimulants, it just sounds so sus.
I know. What you got? What you got there?
May or may not have just been talking about the individuals handing out Coke at the party.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Listen, that
We're
was
banned.
great.
We're banned now.
I went to the art party last night. I had a blast.
It's a crafting reagent. You can't take me to jail.
It's true.
You have no evidence.
It's in game. It's meant for.
So if you
crafting,
miss
guys.
me, it's okay. You can catch me at least here every Sunday.
That's true.
See, if we had taken bets, Arden, if you would have squeaked last night, I would have lost that bet.
Yeah, I'm really surprised I didn't hiccup a single
Or no
time during the
squeaks.
panel.
I'm proud of you.
It's okay. I would have kept track too.
Yeah, I know. I've been told that for my own stream, I really need to get a hiccup counter that
Oh,
people
yeah.
can
Oh, no.
just add to with a chat command.
Yeah, it's
and I'm
just death,
like,
just the
fuck.
death counter, and it's control add plus, and yeah,
Yeah.
I can help you out. You just call it hiccup death or something.
I mean, with how much they hurt sometimes, not, entirely inaccurate.
Yeah. Well, you can name it what you like. Well, I don't know how we want to play today. I could pull up the slideshow. We could just talk.
How about that art?
We could go straight to the art. That was
I
the
was
third
gonna
choice.
say, how about that art?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me pop over to the windowed scene, and I'll pull up the new special site. So
And
that
we
can
love you
all-
too, Bambi.
We can all look at it together. 1 second. Oh, we're on the moon now.
Is there anyone in chat who hasn't had a chance to see it yet?
We're revolving around a planet.
Yes. Hopefully this works as intended, and here is the site. Alright, so here's our new art. This is the official webpage for patch 6.2. It was updated recently with incredible art. You guys want to talk about it here?
I am so fed by this art.
A lot of symbolism going on
Are you
here.
A
full?
lot.
I think a couple of members of the cast are full from this. Me, I'm like, it's patch art.
Get out.
No, make me.
I've
So,
been waiting for this since Praetoria.
oh, it's been ages. So, for those who aren't fully up to date, the issue with La Habrea is that he body hops, and we never saw his actual face. There was an unused asset in Heavensward that looked a lot like the bottom image in this shot. Minus the madness and the zombie, but the long hair.
He had a braid.
he had a
like
braid.
tiny little braid.
Yeah, so
Very
the
cute little
long
braid.
hair is a pre-established thing for the character, and so seeing that, this could be what we're seeing here. We have the eyes, so you might remember from the Endwalker Pandemonium art that it's a half mask we're looking at, and if you look at the character, you see one. Each character has one like shining red eye, right? So that's kind of symbolic
Neat.
of the half mask. But I don't want to take all the air, so guys.
So I'm
Yeah,
like,
you want me to do that, huh?
We can take
I was gonna
turns.
say, you're gonna be talking most of the time if that's the case. So underneath him, there's a bit of a bit of a devious air going on. He's got one guy. We got the guy under him looking very sinister. Around him, we've got olive branches, which are interesting to me. We also have chains.
Symbol of Athena.
Exactly. We also have chains. We have
Freaking tentacle.
Well, listen, it could be an old god.
This
You
is
know,
the
we're-
Eldritch
we're going-
Horror
Oh
aspect.
yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
Definitely.
I'm just fascinated by the art decision.
We have a snake off to the side. We have a raven, tentacles, of course. So
Creepy eyeballs.
we're getting into some neat stuff.
Oh, and don't forget the red blood cells.
Yes.
Like,
My
I guess it's a little harder to tell in this fuzzy version of it.
My one wish is that with the armor set, it's Eldritch themed, so I can have a tentacle skirt for my tank glam.
You guys tell me to get out.
That would be wild.
Come in.
So I do
want
want to
tentacles.
I do want to point out the three animals, I guess, for lack of a better word, on this art: the raven, the snake, and the octopus. If you look at the snake, and this has been bumping around in my head for a while, living in the South, we were always taught, how to tell the difference between coral snake and king snake. And a coral snake, which is the poisonous one, has the red touching the yellow, which we see on this snake, but we also see the red touching the black, which is the non-venomous snake, which is for the king snake. So I think that's a really interesting way of saying, yes, this is dangerous, but it's also maybe not.
And for those who are as
Throws us
blind
a
as
little.
me, the tentacles are obvious, but the snake is on the right-hand side underneath the tentacle. You'll see,
It's kind of by the Y.
yep, by the Y, and then the raven is above that, right above that, underneath
Yeah.
Themis.
And there was actually someone who made a video regarding the raven and the octopus and kind of their relationship in Greek mythology. I forget what his YouTube handle was, but it was really interesting. Basically, all the history that they have in Greek mythology.
If we can find that, I'd be happy to link it. They have replays up on Twitch's their Twitch site.
We could go try and find it.
Now, there have been a lot of fan theories roaming around Twitter on this. We all have slightly different angles, but what are the three? So the three are, this is Artemis, or the second one, this is La Habrea Mad, or the third one, people are looking at the red hair in the picture and looking at Erichthonius and wondering if someone goes crazy. Is that
That's
short summary?
That's close to my theory.
Those are the three I've seen. One of them's, I have a favorite, but we can talk about that a little bit.
Let's hear it.
Well,
Whoever,
I'll start, and then if
whoever.
that's all right.
Yeah,
Go
for
ahead.
it.
The thing that gets me is that, well, I mean, first off, just in case it wasn't clear to people, because I've had a few people say, how do you know that's La Habrea there in the center? Well, he's holding on to his mask. I've also had people
Yep.
say, well, wasn't La Habrea in the 5.4 patch art? And we say, yeah, that was a screenshot that was off at one side used as like a set piece.
Yep.
This is actual drawn art, absolute centerpiece. There is no question. No reasonable question, anyway.
I agree with you. Absolutely. I think this is
But,
no question him.
just to clear that up, because sometimes people aren't thinking it through, the thing that's getting me is that the mirrored figure, the one on the bottom that's upside down there,
Mhm.
it's well, like facially he looks so similar, but he doesn't have the, like, it's possible that La Habrea just has white hair, but I get strong, like, no, his hair has gone white over time vibes. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I'm crazy. There's also the fact that he's got a white mask instead of a convocation mask. So it feels like something weird is going on. I think that I'm kind of like split on it, honestly. Because it could be that Erichthonius has an older brother that's crazy and dangerous, and they had to lock him up, and they were like, well, we don't want to kill our son, so let's make this big place to keep him safe so that he can't hurt other people, but we don't have to kill him. Or it could be that someone tried to make the perfect son, and because it was a soulless construct, didn't go well. Or it could just be he splintered off a part of his personality, whether intentionally or not. This one ties in with a lot of theories I've heard with people talking about Mateus and how in Final Fantasy II it was, right? Someone check me there.
The Emperor or
Yes, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, Emperor
Yep.
Mateus.
King of Heaven, King
actually
of Hell.
had his
yeah.
personality split. Yeah, exactly. The King of Heaven, King of Hell thing, which would also be very interesting, and he did involve pandemonium. So
If you
Yeah.
want
Would
to
fit.
go, if you want to go to Mateus de Lucavi, in even I mean in the raid, I mean you know the model, right? For Mateus.
Mhm.
People usually mistake Mateus de Lucavi for having like a woman's body, but that's incorrect because what the true body of Mateus is
Yeah.
kind of the armor, because the woman tied to it is actually an ice goddess that Mateus got hold of to use as a living shield when he rebelled against the Ocuria. So and in the battle during Royal City of Rabanasa, there's this phase in the battle in which Mateus detaches himself from the ice goddess.
His
So
staff is
if we're
also a
going
sign of it.
if we're going about things that are part of you and you can detach, then absolutely Matthias is part of them.
This is
the
something I want to
Mateus
touch
thing
on.
also interests. Oh, good.
I'm so
Go ahead.
sorry. Just the images. I just changed over to a quick Google search of the character, and what you'll notice right away, we've gone over it before, is the blonde long hair, the side braids. This is essentially it's the original artistic rendition of what we saw in the unused
The
assets.
unused heavenwards.
It just is.
I mean, I'm going to point out that from this Cydia Final Fantasy onwards,
Yeah.
the design for Emperor Matthias, especially the shoulder things and the crown, has a snake motif, a cobra. in
Yeah,
particular.
that was my theory as well. Just like the Mateus for Emperor Mateus, especially from his Dissidia model too. The hair, just everything, just screams a connection to Pandemonium.
Yep.
I also want to point out we were talking about the Evilise, the the Lucavi form with the bound ice goddess. We have seen some hints in Erichthonios' fight that his mother is aligned with light and maybe also ice. So my Athena is not technically dead theory is still like there.
Yeah, I do have thoughts on that as well.
Oh, please go ahead.
on.
So, the figure we see in the doorway, of the patch art, I don't know who else that could be but Athena, and I think
Same.
her being in that doorway, kind of like between the light in the background and the darkness in the foreground, kind of symbolizes her not only being an intermediary, but caught between life and death.
Did you say a medium?
Yeah,
Sorry.
get out.
Never.
I'm glad I'm not the only one just being caught between this.
There's been a lot of there are theories that just seem too stretchy for me on Twitter, and the reason I say that is because whenever we go too far out on a limb, I don't know when it's been right. I just don't know when it's ever been right. So I do not buy into Sun Goes Crazy personally. I think it's much clearer from just our conversation here that this is probably two halves of a person.
You're
and-
the only one, the sane one here. So
The thing that gets me about that is that this bottom mirror dude looks so much younger,
It
incredibly
does.
younger.
Well,
It's wild to me.
I was wondering if
And
maybe...
if it was truly a split personality, would it still have the mask? Would it not? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Go ahead.
I mean, I personally, this is just, of course, interpretation, but the way I read this thing, and knowing the ancients, what are the themes the ancients deal throughout Endwalker, might seem to me, if this is like a younger version of La Habrea, like from when he was perhaps, we don't know if the ancients marry, but let's say when he was with his partner Athena, and perhaps he wasn't yet part of the convocation, and then he lost Athena, and maybe he kind of lost it, so to speak. So there's the possibility, of course, that this is a memory, if you want to go with a pet, that was discarded because we know that the ancients, when it comes to sorrow and grief, they don't really feel very comfortable with them. And if La Habrea was going through something like that, maybe that's the result of the experiment.
I think that's a sensible argument. That's kind of what I was touching on in the Discord a few days ago with my initial take on, like, just... It doesn't even have to be a completely separate physical body. It's just, if one goes through grief, losing their partner, then maybe they seal away their empathetic half that has gone a little off kilter, maybe.
At the same time, if the result may be like taking a part of your soul and burying it, maybe if you're taking a part of your soul, you can perhaps say it's a proto-sundering, and that's why La Habrea may look older than other ancients. Perhaps it affected, because we know that the sundered age and grow old because they're sundered. So if La Habrea sundered himself to a degree, maybe that's what made him age more poignantly than other ancients.
I do think the chains wrapping around both figures are very heavily symbolic. They're somehow tied together, like 100%.
And the thing is, this whole discarding or just we don't know if he deliberately may have done it or if it was an accident. If it was an accident, I know Cobb is going to just throw his hands at me, but that has a lot of minister from the 13th trilogy.
Yeah. So yeah, I could see that, and I don't know, but my initial impression is that it's not La Habrea at all, and it's not anyone else on the screen or on the patch art, but rather basically who this Tears Hesperos is going to be.
You think this is just random crazy ancient, completely separate, and
not a
I
random
don't think
crazy
random
ancient,
crazy,
just another
but-
one of La Habrea's simps.
Yeah, so basically
you think it's another simp?
So
Okay.
basically, the entirety of 13 community after the patch art was released, right?
Just another
Yeah.
tier 3 sub.
This is just another
My-
tier 3 sub.
My expectation is rather that this individual is going to be key to the heart of Pandemonium.
I
They
agree
might-
with that,
Sure.
yeah.
I wouldn't see them as necessarily just our next keyword or whatever this would be. Someone who might be teased at the end of the this one, and we'll have to really delve into the meat of it next time. But
Ooh.
Yeah, this is
Uh,
definitely
you
not
know.
a random person.
Indeed. Also, I find fascinating the facial expressions of the two that we've been working with this whole time. Eric Thonios looks almost angry. And to my eyes, Themis, quote unquote Themis, looks like surprised. He's also holding his mask in a remarkably similar manner to La Habrea's. So I'm wondering if we're going to get that reveal this time.
Well, that is the
So
white
I-
mask.
Yeah,
I will say this, and this does tie into the 13 trilogy. And now that Mel turned me into her, the impression I get, the distinct impression I get, from our interactions with Eric and what we know of La Habrea, is that Eric blames his father for the death of his mother.
I
And
think there's some element to that, yeah.
Yeah, and it
I-
reminds
I
me a
know where
lot.
this
Yeah,
is
it
going.
reminds me a lot of Hope and Snow
Hope Dagger
from
Eyes.
original 13.
or
where-
hope with his father too.
Yeah.
At first.
Well, not so much with his father, but just very much Hope and Snow. But we'll see. And I'm guessing they're gonna turn La Habrea more into Bartholomew than Snow. But I just
Yeah.
think that's a really interesting approach that they could take for this. And it's not something I would have considered, 2 months ago before I started playing 13. But looking at this and knowing what I know, I'm like, okay.
With regard to
yes.
Themis's white mask, I'm just saying glamours exist.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
or just paper thin disguises, because I mean, honestly, Themis, Themis, if you want to go
It's a
like
great-
incognito, you may have considered not wearing a white robe.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's a great disguise if you're not worried about people looking too closely. In truth, I think the white robe is a meta narrative decision, because if they just give us this guy and then gave him a black robe and a normal mask, people are going to be like, wait, it kind of looks like, no, it can't be. Kind of looks like, no, it can't be.
Yeah.
But at this point, we look at it and we're like, no, there's something up. It's a very obvious thing. The red mask is a dead giveaway. This person is on the convocation. So they didn't want to do that. But the white robe is like, no, something's different. Pay attention, and it arouses your curiosity.
Can I
I
touch
think
on
that was a really good move.
Can I touch on my interpretation of these faces real quick?
Please.
So, to me, maybe differently from what you guys said, it looks to me like Ericthonius is just kind of looking at Dad, saying, "What you gonna do? I don't really trust you." I'm just looking at the emotion on the face. But we're here to finish what we started. That's the vibe I get. With Dad, I'm getting, stop effing around. We need to do a thing. This is a problem.
I want to add, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Real quick, but the line that Ericthonius has when he says smile, I'm not sure his face is capable of such
Correct.
warmth. They
Yeah.
captured that perfectly.
Yeah.
I love it.
I fully agree. With Themis, what I'm seeing actually is a little hint of sadness, but also, like, the way he's holding the mask, like you said, it's kind of like it's time to get down to business. You know? It's like there's a little
Also, if you
slight frown and the eyes look a little sad.
if you look at the larger image that I linked in the live chat channel,
Sure,
you can
sure.
actually see his eyebrows are kind of raised. That's why I
Raised.
think he looks surprised.
Yeah.
That's also
interesting
that's
to
also grief eyebrows in a certain angle.
Potentially, yeah. And also, I do have to say, smile, I'm not sure his face is capable of such warmth. And then you look down at the guy below who's like all crazy smiles, and it's like, either
saw
that
Lahara
part was
smile a lot.
excised, or that's not him.
I'm gonna switch images for the clean one real quick.
Yeah,
Well, if you go with the interpretation and or kind of the lesson and Walker tries to convey is that without sorrow and grief and acceptance of sorrow of sorrow and grief, one cannot value or experiment joy. So if La Habrea did indeed cast away his the part of himself grieving and mourning for Athena, then he also cast away the chance to heal.
This is
So
so
that's-
beautiful up close.
I feel like
holy crap!
Yeah, it's so good. It's really good art.
You all seeing
Yeah, I
this?
feel like Athena's death is a little more recent, but I could be wrong. I also wanted to bring up, because it just occurred to me, Alex the Swan guy actually said something about regarding my idea for the Laha split. I think it's more so his magnum opus in Phantomology, one that made Hephaestus his extremely likely name skyrocket in the ranks of the words of La Habrea. It would be really similar to him, but some of his personality traits adjusted. That's remarkably close to my own thoughts, because I'm remembering I think it's Through His Eyes, they emphasize a soul cannot be created, only
Yeah.
born.
Yeah.
But I feel like the whole Zodiac thing, like they were essentially trying to create the soul of the planet. And I feel like this is a precursor to that. I think maybe La Habrea tried to create a person with a soul, and I think it went wrong. But I think
Same
this,
time-
I don't know if I agree with the soul of a planet aspect.
Will of the planet was more like how they describe it.
well, yeah, what's the will?
Well, it's like this. What happens when we give 1 billion souls a king soul and then make that thing decide for us what we do with our world? I don't know if that's exactly, you know what I mean? Like if the angle is give the planet a soul, it's almost like that's never gonna actually. It might be close, but it's never actually gonna be the thing.
More of a collective unconscious in that way. But I don't know. I got the impression that they were trying to take an inert thing, the planet, and give it a life. And I mean, it's when I say soul, what I mean is they say, first off, the Sundering sundered every soul on the planet. And second off, the Sundering sundered Zodiac. And third off, Sundering Zodiac sundered the planet because the planet was Zodiac in an intrinsic way.
Yeah, that's a good point, and we have talked about that before.
That's why I just remembered my rationale for considering it soul-like.
That makes sense.
Again, that's just my interpretation. That's not necessarily hard and fast or anything, but there's some logic to it.
Also, I'm
But if
here just I'm here just thinking. I mean, I know the name Hephaestus for La Habrea is like the fandom at this point. Like you said, quite likely considering things, but still fandom. But if it were the case, I'm just here thinking the fact that in Greek mythology, Hephaestus is notably to be the only Olympian god who is crippled.
Yes, I talked about that a while back. I think
I'm
during
so glad I
Canon
played
One.
Odyssey on stream.
In case anybody was
yeah.
unclear whether these were eldritch eyes from the tentacle monster, now up close, you cannot possibly miss it.
Yeah, they're definitely
Yeah.
nice.
Their eyes.
Yeah.
I do want to point one thing out that I thought was very interesting about this artwork. That is something that is a very strange choice. If you look at the white masks, these are not the masks we see in Elpis. These are the masks we see in the memory of Amarot.
That's true. I had noticed that, but not really thought about it.
So I wonder what that means, because these masks are not detailed at all, which is more indicative of a memory that's half remembered than what actually happened. And I'm really curious why they went that direction with that and what that
It's
means.
possible they were like, screw doing all those details, but still, it
Mhm.
seems like an intentional choice, and I'm very curious about it.
Well, especially
Like I
given
was saying,
the
there's
patch
so
title.
much symbolism here. Yeah, and like on the one hand, the patch title usually has to do with the MSQ, but on the other hand, like I don't feel like it can't be both.
Yeah, but we also have to remember the patch title is different in other language, more like forbidden.
They were saying
memory, I believe.
Forbidden Memoria, which is noteworthy as the thing in Final Fantasy IX
Yeah.
that was with all the masks that looked like Hades' wings.
Yeah, that's an important point. Forbidden Memoria is the true, if they were just being blunt, the true localization of the Japanese.
I'm really excitedly looking forward to the French and German.
Yeah,
name for it.
same. I wonder what they are. And the reason it matters is because Memoria, rather than using it as a marker for what's in our heads, our memories, this is a place. Memoria is a place. It is not a thought in 9. It is a place.
likely the best place in
Oh.
Final Fantasy 9. I have to say.
So Forbidden Memoria.
Hold on. I
The
just
place
looked
is
this
sealed
up.
away.
I just looked this up.
Please.
And it's from Latin. It can be translated as memory, but it's actually one of 5 canons in classical rhetoric. The others being inventio, dispositio, elocutio, and pronunciato. Sorry, I butchered that one. Concerned with the crafting and delivery of speeches and prose. Hello, La Habrea is the speaker. Ding, ding, ding.
So now we have a triple entendre.
That's brilliant, honestly. Or very lucky.
Could be both.
Could be both. I'm always struck, and I mean this all the way back to the first Final Fantasies. I'm always struck by how deep their lore and myth rips are. It's like
Yes.
it's like they have somebody who's like a 4 times doctorate in mythology, Western mythology, who's just writing these games.
They've got a bunch of nerds and it shows, and I
Yeah,
love
but
it.
nerd can mean
say
anything,
rips
and
just
this
as
is
you
like
complete a show on retcons. Come on.
They've also said that Banriota has an entire shelf full of mythology books in his office.
well, there we go.
that he uses for reference.
I mean, it's
Square
just
Enix
it's.
have
I guess what I'm
this
saying is it's really remarkable.
Massive library.
It's really
library.
remarkable.
At the same time, I'm looking at the animals. There's the snake in particular, considering this is, the snake. It's interesting that this is speaking like a visual rhetorics kind of graduate. So the snake is placed between Lahabra and Olidbus, and these being future Asians, the snake is heavily associated with Zodiac, of course, being Ophiuchus in the Esper, in Final Fantasy XII. Zodiac espers and stuff. So that I think that's really interesting and absolutely deliberate. As for the raven makes me think of the term buried memory. I know there's the whole Greek mythos about the raven and the octopus and the snake, but the raven's making me think quite pointedly of the work of Edgar Allan Poe.
Well, I mean, for sure.
Nevermore, huh?
And
Mhm.
I mean the tentacles and the
What's the
eldritch.
name of that particular? What's the name of that
It's called the
particular? No, what's the name of that particular short story? Was it the Telltale Heart?
Yeah, that's it.
In which one guy buried the heart of someone he killed beneath the planks of the wood planks of the floor,
Yes.
and the heartbeat revealed that the heart was there and that was a murder.
He
that the murder
continued
was
to hear it.
committed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes,
So,
that
yeah.
was the one. It's a wild story. Also, I don't know anything about coral snakes particularly, but I know that serpent snakes were associated with Athena as well as olive branches. Interestingly, I was looking up raven and crow stuff, and it sounds like the adherents of Athena would chase crows out of their temples because they wanted they wanted owls to nest there, and crows would chase. The birds would come in conflict.
Mhm.
So it could be nothing. It could be interesting. The color in the bottom there where it goes all this like sort of furious orangish is really cool too.
I agree because, like with the hair, if it's a lighter color, then it's going to take on the color of whatever light it is. But that's also a black robe, which would
Mhm.
more absorb the color, and it wouldn't shine that same color. So it
Yeah.
makes me wonder.
To me, it feels like the color is very intense.
Mhm.
But if interestingly, and I kind of put it next to Eric Thonios in a screenshot I did, and the hair color of this individual is very close to Eric Thonios's.
But it's unclear whether that's real or coloration because of the black robe.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think that's a lot due to the lighting.
The lighting makes it much more saturated, you can see, yeah. Alex the Swan guy says, could the poster also hold some meaning for the MSQ? It's weird to me that it's only about Panda. Quite possibly. I would expect that to mostly be in the title, but I don't know. I know that they will often put details for side content being like, hey, you should go do this. It's really cool on the patch art.
I mean, we had it twice in Shadowbringers with vows of virtue, deeds of cruelty.
Yeah, for the
being
crossover.
one for the near one,
And then the Eden.
and then the Eden one,
Sorry.
yeah. So and then,
yeah, I was actually thinking it was 5.4 and this is 6.2, so they're pushing this one a little earlier on.
Yeah.
I was saying they did that too in Stormblood. 4.1 is The Legend Returns, which has Ramsa and Delita from the tactics.
Yeah, it's certainly not the first time.
And 4.2 Rise of the New Sun, which was second tier of Omega, has the whole Garland Ironworks crew.
Fair point.
So Pandemonium
It is a done thing then.
Yeah.
I will say what I've always said. Everything in this game is eventually MSQ. Like there is high content in 14.
It all feeds in.
Well, it's like the Omega raid, or not raid, the Omega quests we got at the end here very recently. I thought they were MSQ because I wasn't paying attention to the icon on the map, but they are so important to integrating multiple expansions in a couple of quests, and I thought it was MSQ.
Alex says, in before Panday is the real MSQ. No, Hildebrand is the real MSQ.
How dare you? How dare.
I know, Cobra.
Are you excited for the Manderville weapons, Arden?
No.
We will grind them out on stream together.
Listen,
no.
all jokes aside, if we get a Manderville weapon crafted by Godber Manderville himself, that's truly the ultimate weapon in the fucking universe.
I don't know why you guys hate the Manderville quests so much. They're actually hilarious.
They are hilarious.
I find the humor to be a little much for me, but it's okay.
This last edition in Endwalker, holy shit. So
I don't like comedy.
I'm a 5-year-old.
I don't
so
like
everything in
humor.
Hildebrand is hilarious.
Yeah, I don't like humor.
Yeah, I don't like humor.
I like Monty Python kind of humor.
Oh my god, this show sucks. I'm leaving.
Really anything else.
Cobb, I knew you had a stroke after seeing Luge again.
What's funny is I'm actually in Tower of Babel right now. I just walked in.
Fantastic.
So now you're going to scramble for saboteurs and synergists? Sorry.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Yeah, that's a weird.
I feel like I've dealt with my trauma with Dr. Luge, but I never want to hear the phrase "vile peaks" again.
Oh boy.
They are vile.
Friendly reminder: tomorrow we start 13-2.
For Alex in chat, I will tell you that the Stormblood Hildebrand was very worth it. Please go do it. It has a good trial involved, and you'll have fun.
It's also very short.
It's not too long, yeah. It's worth it. Get after it. And here I am. I haven't even touched the new one yet.
How dare.
But I do want to touch these Criterion dungeons that are coming out.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that.
I'm so excited. Been waiting for 4-man hard stuff for so long. And it'll probably replace the... it's obviously not Deep Dungeon, but maybe it's a better version of that kind of concept where it's, I mean, when that content came out, wasn't that... The story was good, but the fact that it was very simplistic in its implementation, right? Like you just quickly level up and get access to your abilities, and other than that, it's just watch out for landmines and get to the portal. This should be more engaging, I think.
I agree. I'm really excited for the Criterion dungeons, and especially because we're getting Scylla, and that
Right.
implies that we're going to be getting the other proto city states like Gelmora,
Please.
going into Gelmora proper, and
God,
Yeah.
please,
See.
Gomorrah.
So, I mean, Deep Dungeon on paper, Palace of the Dead is Gelmora, but you don't, it's just a bunch of copy-pasted.
But the lore in it is,
It's-
dead
yeah.
NPCs mostly.
Yep.
And wow, it gets freaky when you go really far down.
Yep.
Gelmora
have we-
was huge.
Yep.
Have we kind of discussed everything about the patch art then?
I think so, yeah. So I was hoping that Sarah would be back by now, but I don't know if we want to pull up the slideshow.
One last thing.
Oh, please. Floor is yours.
Oh, I just wanted to comment on the figure in the back. I know we talked about her a little, it a little before. I'm saying her because I'm
In the
assuming
white.
it's Athena.
Assuming it's
I've seen people saying, "Oh, it looks like they're coming in," but to me, it looks like an angelic sort of pose,
Yes.
like watching
Being
over. I would
crucified.
expect, like based on the arrangement of the characters, I expect La Habrea to be central to at least what we're talking about, if not the action that's going on. I expect those two to be, Eric Thonios and Themis to be in support of that. This other guy to be lurking below, causing trouble, and I expect the figure in the background to be sort of like benevolently watching over things.
On that, and you can piggyback this, because I'm going to piggyback that. Christian iconography and what a cathedral means. It's supposed to be symbolic of a literal gateway to heaven on earth. It's meant to symbolize heaven. And so seeing the figure
Oh.
through the white portal, going into the cathedral, not out of, as far as I can tell. You see the pillars on the right and left, right? It kind of feels like the
Yeah.
outside, not the inside.
It feels very cathedral-ish, yes. I
Yeah.
hadn't really thought about that, but you're absolutely
Let me
right.
just- I can zoom in close.
And the body is literally forming a cross,
Yes, it is.
which is
Mhm.
not very
Sacrificial.
not very
Yeah.
subtle.
It's not
At the
subtle.
same time,
Interesting that you say that, because then we have a sacrifice element.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So mommy didn't
Well, it's
just
not
die;
exactly-
it was intentional. or-
Yes, but at the same time, it's not exactly a Jesus pose.
No.
a
doesn't need to be.
Crucified, for reference, a crucified Jesus pose would have the arms like to raise and the head bowed, because a Christian cross would have you like with the arms. I'm doing this the pose like at home.
You hang downward from it, yes.
Exactly, it's like
This person's
a straight
spreading
line.
arms.
Exactly, but the head is not bowed, so it's different.
It is
Feels
different.
more like a saintly figure to me, like some of saint statues or sculptures. That's the feeling I get.
I'm
but still
zooming in
it
as far
forms
as
a
I can
cross.
for the chat. To me, I do see a hood. I see a cowl.
I don't know if
completely up.
Yeah,
I'm not convinced. It's definitely hard to tell, and I think they did that on purpose.
Yeah, like I see two little dots for eyes and maybe a mouth, but that could just be texture. I don't know.
Mhm.
Mm.
I think they could be coming or going. I hope it's them going, because that would make more sense with how I feel
Well,
the figure
there's
fits.
definitely it's definitely the front of the face. You can see the front of the
Yeah.
robe
Mouth.
there in the chest. It doesn't have the same pattern in the back. It doesn't have the same shape where it's like in drapes in the back. It's definitely the front of the person anyway.
I'm gonna change scenes one more time. Sorry. Just for a better shot.
I'll allow it.
Thank you. All right, full screen, and then this one here.
Alex, the Swan guy says,
So
anyway,
I
if you
d-
accept that this La Habrea was ultimately responsible for Zodiark's design, and if Athena was a sacrifice for something, it would create some very sad hms. I do expect lots of sad in this quest. I expect they're going to
Also-
take our heart out and we're going to bleed for La
Also,
Habrea.
I don't know if you have noticed in the arcs that frame. You know, in the cathedrals, there's these little hollow arcs that usually frame that gate. You see the sculptures? They're like holding hammers.
Mhm.
Oh, really? I saw that there were little sculptures there, and I found it interesting, but I wasn't sure what was in them. I see it now that you pointed out,
I'm
though,
making
yeah.
it as absolutely
Very
big as I
hefty
can.
Estus.
Just the figure, okay? This is kind of weird, but here we
That's
go.
good enough to see.
All right, do you see it?
Nila, surely you know this, but when you're visiting a cathedral and you're kind of a symbolism nut, cathedrals are temples of symbolism.
So I can
Just-
actually, now that you've zoomed in, I can actually see the front panels, and I can see that there's something hanging down further in the back. I think that's long hair. Could be wrong.
Same.
But that's
There's
what I'm seeing
strands.
here.
You see the strands? Yeah, I think it is.
Could be.
Yeah, hard
It's hard
to
to
say.
be definitive, but that's what it looks like to me. And plus, in the front, it looks like maybe there's bangs. I don't know.
Are we in agreement
Again-
that this is outside the cathedral, with the purple aura probably being the ambient, well, the outside?
Yeah, that's what it looks like, the outside of Pandemonium. The
Yeah, I
gates
think
of
so.
Pandemonium,
I
they
think
call that
so.
area. I hang out there a lot.
All right, we're
Still,
back.
very interesting.
We're back on windowed.
Do we have the name for this tire though?
Abyssos.
Yeah,
Okay.
we knew that at the end of the last one, because they're like, where does that gate?
Goes
Where
to
does
the
that
abyss,
passage
guys.
go?
Have fun.
Abyssos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for those who haven't had a chance to look at other languages, in French they actually call it they called Asphodelos limbo, and they called the
Limbo.
next one, oh gosh, I'm blanking on it. Purgatory.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
So they're
that's
actually going with the Christian symbolism
Yep.
in French
That's-
and going with the Greek in English.
That's what I was thinking, because in Purgatorium, if that's Athena, and Purgatorium is like the middle
The middle tier.
ground between heaven and hell, and
Mhm.
Pandemonium, of
Where
course,
you're
is
purged
kind
of your
meant to be-
sins.
Yes.
It's kind of
Sickness
if
must
a
be
soul-
purged.
if a soul is stuck, then it's stuck in
Yes.
in Purgatorio. So because either they can't go on, or either they have to wash away sins or whatever. So, or they have a deep regret or something that just won't allow
Unfinished
them to go
business.
to heaven. So maybe that's Athena in the gate between heaven and hell, something preventing her from going to her final rest. In
Yeah.
their indirect opposition, if you see the composition, in direct opposition with the guy that's right below the composition,
Who seems
they're like-
irredeemable and completely corrupted.
Actually, that's a very good point. We have heaven above,
Mm-hmm.
indicated by this somewhat angelic figure,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have the very hell-like stuff below. They're definitely leaning into some of Final Fantasy II Pandemonium, as well as Milton, which to bring it back to the epic poem, Paradise Lost by Milton, which had originally coined the phrase Pandemonium. It once the fallen angels were cast into hell, they actually built an elaborate city with very, very fancy looking castle type of central thing to live in. And now I'm looking at that bottom figure and going,
I wanted to take a moment to thank our viewers. We've got 20 people just hanging out with us. It's awesome. So thank you for being here. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you
Just
for
wanted
putting up with our rants.
I'm so excited for Pandemonium. It's dumb.
Yeah. I'm at that
We've
stage where I
taken
might actually
almost
want to
40
finish.
minutes just talking about the patch art, and you guys are probably here to talk about last night.
Well,
There's so much in the art.
fun is fun. We've hit it pretty hard though. I can pull up our slideshow from last night. I don't know how we want to talk about it, but
Let's. I mean, you and Arden were both here, and you guys both went over the subject matter pretty much in its entirety.
Yep.
So if there were things that you did not go over, if there were things that you wanted to add to this, if you want to bring up the slides again, we can add our input for the people that were not here. For the people that also write fanfics or that also dive into just, into retconning and world building and such. We were in game. We couldn't join you guys. There's only 3. There's 7 of us and only 3 of you.
Absolutely. I'll bring up the slideshow now, and the main thing is that we talked a lot, and I would be happy to hear the rest of the cast's thoughts on the subjects in the slides. But there's no pressure. Just I want to hear your input as well, because normally we have a full squad, and we only had 3 last night.
Regarding
anything in the presentation that you're interested in discussing with the
just the differences between different kinds of retcons. So I saw a couple of people in chat last night saying, oh, that wasn't a retcon, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
A retcon doesn't have to be something that is changed in the lore. It can be new context that's added, or the characters could learn something.
Reframing.
Yeah, and there's another thing you brought up, and I believe it was 3 types of either tension or ways of building tension and suspense that Alfred Hitchcock came up with, which is the character knows but the audience doesn't. The audience knows but the character doesn't, and then neither of them know.
Right.
And of course, both of them know, but that if both of them know, there's no tension there. And I just think that's a really interesting way that they used. Neither the characters nor the audience knows that this is wrong, and it's been set as established fact. And they use that in a really clever way. And I'm specifically talking about Umbral and Astral, how they changed that to say, oh, we were wrong about this. So everything that we've been put forward, everything that was put in the lore book is not right. And here's why. But it's still something that happened. It's still something that we believed. We just learned, and now we know that's wrong. It's not painting over anything. It's adding to it.
Adding a new dimension.
Yeah, and that's why
Moose was calling it an additive retcon, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
I call it constructive retconning versus deconstructive retconning, where you're actually adding and building onto the world in addition to what's there, instead of just going over what's already been done and saying, no, this is what actually happened. Which, I mean, we've seen that in lots of other games.
A good example of this would be actually Star Wars, Episode 4 versus...
Yes.
The truth is, actually, he's your dad is a huge retcon. I mean, there's no way that the framing of Episode 4 was... It just doesn't seem like it was intended to go that route. And so to make the story go forward, they did a tweak. I think Sarah said that that she thinks that a well implemented retcon should be indistinguishable from just world building. But that doesn't mean that all world building is retconning. That is true. So some of my list may not have quite qualified, and it was there for the discussion point. So
no, it was a good list, and your list was accurate. Alex actually brings up, I've not read everything in the lore book, so when they encountered Oriange's info dump purely with in-game knowledge, that was how they approached it. Which is totally fine, but you have to keep in mind that the lore books and Koji Fox even said this is written from the perspective of Charlean scholars.
Correct.
Which means that not everything in the lore books is going to be accurate.
It's the current state of that country's science, and
exactly
the truth is, even the book itself is sent to us with acknowledgement that this is the best knowledge that the Charleans had. Like that's in the book. So.
Zombies Aneta asks, is the Lunarcon a fan fiction convention for Final Fantasy XIV?
No.
Let you guys take that.
No, it's not.
Not strictly.
No.
Please go ahead.
It's just an in-game convention where people get together, do events, have cool panels and such. We just happen to be leaning into the fanfic angle for our panel.
Mm-hmm.
It was founded last year when we found out there wouldn't be an in-person fan fest due to the COVID. And it was so successful last year that they decided to do it again this year.
We actually were there last year. It was me, it was Neela, and it was Cobran that was speaking last year. There's a VOD of it up on our YouTube channel. We spoke about the almost the same thing, but not quite, about the lore and just kind of theorizing and speculation and
World
Final
building,
Fantasy 14.
how
Yeah,
it interacts with what was it? We were going on like
and how to analyze that from a lore diverse perspective, which is not which is kind of now that we speak of fanfiction and the like, I always have to because lore diving is not exactly a profession or a job like certified, but I take pride on being a lore diving analyst myself. I've been for 10 years, so I take my work seriously. So there's always this thing that I think it's kind of the backbone of our team, which is, of course, we can theorize and speculate, at our heart's content. But when we come to you live and speak of something, we always have to bear in mind that everyone's opinions are valid because we don't have only the developers have the real truth. And also, we have to really differentiate what is our own bias or our own headcanons from what is actually canon. That which is, of course, what makes the difference between fanfiction and theory crafting. Or shipping, if you want to go that way.
Alex the Swan guy has a very good point I want to highlight. I think that statement about Charlian's works doubly in their favor. It's both in-universe flavor, but also to create plausibility in the retcons. It's totally feasible that what the books represented at that time also represented what was inside the writing team's head when telling the story. I think that's very true. But instead of cutting that thread and saying, nope, it's wrong, we were wrong, they can turn it into what you guys like to call Charlian propaganda. I'm looking at
Exactly. And that's why I call it
good,
Charlian propaganda. And it's very good. Yeah.
It's well executed, and it makes the world feel richer instead of feeling like something's been cut out of it.
Yeah. And I think my favorite retcon of all time is actually from BattleTech. There was a really, really bad cartoon of BattleTech that came out in the 90s. And it just did not fit with anything. And so what the universe did was said, yes, this is canon, but this is a piece of propaganda developed by one of the Inner Sphere states to slander one of the other ones. And it was just an in-universe piece of propaganda that didn't actually happen.
A lot of the fanfic authors out there that I see and read about, in order to kind of bridge that gap between retconning and pure fantasy, is that they have their Warriors of Light, their main characters, not exactly be the Warrior of Light and be one of Heidelin's quote-unquote chosen. And in doing so, this kind of frees up a little bit of wiggle room for them to kind of write and make their stories kind of believable, at least in the universe of where 14 sits at currently.
It certainly makes it difficult because if we're being completely honest with the established lore, we are the Warrior of Light, end of story. And when the story went this direction so hard, didn't it make some people who liked to write that kind of thing a little irritated? Do you remember this? Something about Endwalker.
I think I remember kind of what you're talking about.
People wanted to RP a certain way, and now we have answers, and it's like there's no freedom.
Yeah. The goal is to walk the line between tell us more, we want to know more, and then not being like, well, here's some more. And they're like, what that? No, that's not my character. Get it out of here.
Right.
And that's one of those, you'll never make everyone happy. They're just trying to walk a fine balance. But right. I think that's where things like saying, well, my character is not the Warrior of Light, or I'm going to do a take on the game, which is slightly different, an alternate universe approach, is really good. And I love that they encourage that.
Yeah, depends on the title though. I personally I enjoy the potential of open endings or imply things to work from. But I think there's a time and place to do that. Like for example, if it's a closed game, this is not the case. But if it's a closed game, then you may play this angle for bit of time, and then when things calm down, because these things kind of, I mean, the lack of conclusion or the lack of uh, how should I put this? The lack of conclusion or the lack of official statements, aside from implications, do tend to mm, uh, mm, pick the fandom's brain and keep like the story alive, so to speak. The developers know this. The Final Fantasy developers know this as a whole. They've done it many times. But I think if in 14's case it works because it's an ever-going game. So if sticking to something, and because the player character is, basically whatever we want the Word of Light to be, it works. And still, more than once, we're kind of a bit irritated when when the developers say it's up to your interpretation, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I get what you're trying to do, but I would like a bit more precision here.
So
But fine.
and a lot
But,
going over the
I hadn't finished.
go ahead.
But the other thing I was saying, we were talking a close game, and you pulled the same formula. I understand leaving certain stuff like up into interpretation, but not forever. See,
Yeah.
once the hype has died down, for example, just reveal. It's just reveal, if not everything, the core points. Because if not, we find ourselves in situations like, I'm thinking the 13th trilogy myself, but they are addressing that. Thank you, the City of Peromnia.
My God.
But I actually more thinking, I'm not that familiar with, but I know the issues with the Final Fantasy VII compilation, and this trend of not leaving things stated. Though with the remake, I understand that they may have a reason for, okay, since we're going to revive the whole thing, we may just go with the fandom's brain picking. But for the longest time, it still creates a lot of division within the fandom, just because they just wouldn't leave things answered and clear and clarified.
It's definitely like, and this kind of builds on what I said earlier. Like, over time and over the course of the game, you started out as just an adventurer, and you didn't really have a status symbol. You went around helping people. You went around saving pretty much the planet from things like normal city-state issues to universal threats. And you got called the Warrior of Light instead of a random name which you picked yourself in the beginning. And over time, over the patches, your name kind of got blurred out. The status of being the Warrior of Light got blurred. It didn't become a status symbol. It just became like an epithet at this point. And so at this point, you are basically thinking to yourself, well, is it a different person, or is it the same person that I can write about in like a later point in time?
I just want to take a moment to address a few of the questions in chat related to this topic. The first thing, and we've discussed a lot of this before, so my apologies, but Zombie had said the blessing of light gives you the echo and is the only way. It's a question. That's not the case. The way to regain the echo is to have a memory trigger. This was established in Shadowbringers, so seeing the star shower is often enough for people to begin to be able to hear Heidelin's voice. The echo is a requirement to hear the voice, not the other way around. The Blessing of Light in Endwalker was established to be a Traveler's Ward. A specific spell that creates a barrier around you to keep your soul from being corrupted. People were
tempered, yeah.
Any manner of corruption, though, not just tempering, to kind of keep your soul intact. In other words, this is an effort to, let's just say, she found a person, and that person needed to be guarded at all costs to ensure a safe future. Therefore, have the Blessing of Light. So. Ardbert and his crew all had crystals of light as well.
Ethereal corruption.
Ethereal corruption.
The seed was planted there because of, I think the first indication that we had was, what, a sail?
Yeah, Isael has a crystal of light as well. So Heidelin's chosen. There's a bunch of them. That's separate from the Shard of Azem or the basically who we are and who Ardbert is. Those are different things.
It's also interesting that because we learn in Endwalker that the Blessing of Light is actually a spell.
Exactly.
A spell word.
Yes.
It makes more sense as of why the alchemists in the Great Work are able to replicate it through dragon scales. Remember, dragons are unsundered, and they're a bit of their alchemy. So they basically replicated an ancient spell. And now everyone, since they can mass produce the warding scales, everyone can just be fight primal, and if the need arises, just get yourself your hands on one of the scales, you're good.
It's also noteworthy that in Shadowbringers we have the lore on Warrior of Light just being synonymous with hero. There may have been an original Warrior of Light. It's in the legend, certainly. It looks a lot like the primal we fight, but the truth is, once you have set an example, the regular people don't really have a way of proving if you are or not. It's just in the language now. So
it takes on a life of its own. It grows beyond its origins.
So
I think that felt very real.
It did. It's fully real. What Neela had said is, there's in chat. You can be a Warrior of Light. You can be the Warrior of Light. They're different things, but they're still in the language.
Yeah, keep in mind that in ARR, they mentioned in 1.0 there were multiple Warriors of Light, and they were only called such because of the Aether Wipe. And
all they could
whenever
remember.
Whenever someone tried to remember them, all they could remember was Blinding Light. But on the first, it was because they brought the Flood of Light, so they called them the Warriors of Light.
So that tackles that.
So in the first, basically being a Warrior of Darkness is a good thing.
At this point in the history.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just scrolling through the slideshow. Let me know if you want to stop.
Yeah, well, we kind of went straight through that into the next slide.
Are we psychic?
I don't know.
One of the big topics last night was the added information about the Astral Umbral switch. Did you all want to touch on that again?
Yes, let's do that.
This part is confusing. Even really detangling it can be so confusing to get it, because the source uses Astral and Umbral. The first uses light and dark. The source, people assume, well, this is that, and then they're like, actually, it's reversed. It's hard to keep it straight. I'm not gonna lie.
Quick sidebar. You probably won't laugh. I like how this poster is probably something that Urian J made himself, and that he could clearly just make like those wall tapestries for college kids. No problem.
It looks like it's artistically drawn to me, but yeah, I love it. He it's fascinating to me, actually. I mean, I understand why they didn't, but they didn't write it in Norvrantic. They used the Eorzean script.
Well, it's because he made it. See what I'm saying?
He made it, and he was like, "No one else needs to see this except for me."
It's his gift from doing all the Pixie Tribe quests.
Maybe he'll submit it
Oh
to
my
the
God.
next encyclopedia for
Maybe he'll
for
submit it
Charlene.
to Encyclopedia Eorzea 1.
I like your funny words, Ellison Bookman.
Yeah.
I have to just side note. I actually for my current Final Fantasy 13 project, which I'm writing and doing concept art of stuff. Because being Final Fantasy, there's Final Fantasy tradition of taking stuff from references from other games, and one of my craziest or maybe greatest achievements, depending on what you look at, is taking this thing and adapting it to Final Fantasy 13 lore. Okay.
So on the subject, prior
Meowth
to
does not love 13 in any way. Not at all.
not at all, hates it. In fact, it's the worst game on the planet.
Doubt.
So what did we know about Astral Umbral before this poster, before this scene in Shadowbringers?
From
You wrote the
From
book
my
on this. This is your
perspective-
video, so I'm happy to have you just go to town.
I was
Okay?
gonna say, from my perspective, at the time when I was introduced to Astral Umbral, the only reason I really knew it was because of Black Mage. I wasn't delving deep into the lore. I didn't have any of the lore books at the time, not until Shadowbringers did this whole switcheroni. And to me, Astral was it's Astral Fire and Umbral Ice. I'm not crazy. Yeah. Astral was okay, fire. It must be the active, Umbral was ice, That was what I understood it to be. So having this other thing dropped on wasn't that earth-shattering to me. It's just that what confused me more than anything when I first saw this picture? The white and black triangles. I thought those were like the astral and umbral polarities, because I didn't realize that was the dominances and submissions. But you can see astral and umbral written. Now that I can read the script, you can see astral and umbral written at the top and the bottom. I do have to make the joke, though, that Shadowbringers turned our understanding of it upside
down.
Hey! But essentially, Astral describes active processes, wind, lightning, fire. Umbral describes much less ones, which water being included in there is a little odd, but it's less active than the others, so I guess it works ice and earth.
So regardless, these are poles, right? These are polarities,
Yes.
essentially. Which means any element can be in between. It's just they have natures that are more likely to be one or the other, but they can all be both. You can absolutely have astral or umbral lightning. We see this kind of thing in the abilities of Black Mage. It's very, very apparent, even though they're backwards, that polarity is a thing. We also have dark fire spells out of the Void Dragons and the Ascians and such. It's not necessarily. It's just kind of an attunement.
By its nature, lightning is the most active, and by its nature, ice is the most passive.
Correct.
But you can still intentionally reverse or flip that. It just takes more work, it seems like.
Jenny says, I find the whole astral umbral thing easier to understand for myself if I don't actively think it over.
I mean, that's fair.
Like when I lay it out and try to explain it, it makes sense. But thinking about it, it's like it's not a complete reversal. It's just an aspect of it that is different. It changes a lot.
I remember you saying that it was one of the easier ways to explain it would be it's less about the effects and more about the root cause. Like in other words, the force of creation versus the end result. So the umbrals. Go ahead.
I have to say though that Neela, when he said that. The triangles being the dominance and submissions instead of the astral umbral polarity, I think there's a bit of truth in the fact that there's a bit of light, that there's a bit of umbral astral polarity in what they're pointing, because let's say pure I don't know how to make you visualize this. I'm going to try. Let's say top like the top of the triangles higher in the upside down, which is the light one, it would be light, passive, is ice. The top of the dark one would be lightning, which is astral, which is darkness. And then if we go then there's like the middle ground in which water and earth are static, but not as static as ice, which would make them sort of a bit of a mix of mostly umbral, but with a bit of astral. And the same goes with fire and wind. They're not as active as lightning, and hence they are astral, but they've got a bit of umbral. So it makes sense to me that it's like not exactly. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's like it does make sense to me. Like we got the 2 poles and the middle poles. Like I know.
Yeah. The thing that blows my mind is that this representation here is the exact thing we start getting our crystals of light on when we go to that
Correct.
little
Mhm.
little inner
Super
vision
is.
place.
I should have put that on here too. Maybe I
Except
can retcon
the
this
dark-
slide again.
Except the dark triangle is light and the light triangle is dark in that one.
Yeah.
Turned out to be nothing, apparently.
Oh,
But
I don't know.
I'm still freaked out about that.
I think
And
your
of course,
video
the
still
tree-
has
and-
legs.
And of course, that's true. I was going to say, of course,
you
the
in-
tree of life in the center is where the warrior of light stands on the diagram, which is like, there's some symbolism there.
I
Not to
would
mention the
say
star
that,
under the tree.
The
Oh yeah,
two-
Jenny was just commenting on the tree in the center. Yeah, it's I believe it's actually the representation of the bull, the world tree.
Which happens to be the final area in the Rala world.
Dun, dun, dun.
Praise be.
Praise be to Rala.
Praise be.
Oh my god. I'll praise Rala when I get a Rala mountain, not until.
So, would you say that the triangle's being inverted on the crystal diagram made your brain go into overdrive?
I screamed so much and so loud when I realized it. There's probably keyboard smash somewhere in the Discord.
This is
We
our
freaking
video. Is Heidelin secretly dark?
Yes.
I'm gonna link it because it needs to be reshared.
Wasn't that passed around on Reddit a couple of times?
I don't know. I don't go on Reddit much.
I don't know. I know everyone's.
Oh,
on
I
about
liked
this.
that. There are ruins everywhere. Take advantage of them. That's excellent advice.
That is.
It's honestly one of the beautiful things about this game. They have so many little just features in the map. And you go there and you say, what's this? And everyone's like, I don't know. It's just always been there. You can
I was
make
gonna
up
say,
your own story.
Arden and I we used to take lots of field trips everywhere to just kind of
Yes.
look around and like figure out what did this happen here? What happened here?
Son. Archaeology
is-
system win.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And we would get the sightseeing logs and be like, okay, this says that this is from this era and this is this description. So let's think on this for a moment. And we really got our brains going when we went to Ozzy's Law.
Oh yeah, Ozislaw is
Elsaslaw is
great.
crazy. It's got some like I don't know, cyberpunk stuff that looks like cyberpunk Amarat, cyberpunk
Yes.
dystopia Amarat. The spirals and stuff. It's like I looked at that after Shadowbringers was like my brain just starts leaking out my ears.
Yeah, well, anyone who has played the 13th trilogy and see the spires and sees the structure of Azizla just would just.
Oh yeah, when Meowth walked me through 13, I was like, "What is this?"
I suppose that's in my future.
Yes.
You'll get
You're
there.
you're about to enter 13 too, which means you're going to get there.
Oh
Look
god.
forward to it. Soon.
Soon.
It's a good laugh.
Dead air. In a world
No,
where
you.
the air is
Ooh,
dead.
Killed it.
I was
hated the
actually
dead
just
air.
looking at this slide and thinking, it's actually one of those things. I remember when I first started getting into the lore of this game, and I had a friend that was way more into it than me, and he was telling me about, the Mikote tribes and the different names and how each one's associated with an animal. And I'm just sitting here scratching my head. I'm like, this is a mind-boggling amount of world building. This is amazing. And it provides a really good springboard to build off of. You can take this basic information and say, I'm going to take it in this direction, or I'm going to try a tweak on it in that way. Don't forget the Void. Void's a great place to pull role player fanfic inspiration from. Not least of which because it seems to be becoming more relevant.
It was always relevant.
It was always relevant.
Alex says, "Dead air? You mean the secret fourth area of the Ultima Thule dungeon?"
Oh my gosh.
Secret as the secret near area.
You know, on the I'm always struck by the.
Don't make me out, then I lose our shit again. That was bad for 2 nights.
I wanted to say I'm always struck by, and this comes back every time there's an expansion, and it's just a core game design issue, right? Like this beautiful game that we love has limitations, and the geography is one of those. If you go into any dungeon that is themed after a region in the game, you will, and you really pay attention, you'll notice that the scaling of the environment you're in is way more realistic than the actual world map. And one of the biggest, one of the biggest mind-blown moments actually recently is when you go into Aglaya and you look around and you realize how big Silvertear Lake is. It's insane. And that can't be an illusion, and it could be a mistake on the devs' part, you know, but you look at stuff like that and realize how large these buildings really are, how large these regions are. One of my favorite moments like this was actually at the end of Shadowbringers when we went to the plains south of Thanalan, where, gosh, I can't even think of the name, but just the visual scape when you're flying on your wyvern, and just the amount of space there is there, these fields that the tribe lives on and cultivates, and there's wheat everywhere. The world's huge, and they just can't make a game that big in terms of your actual exploration, but
yeah, MMOs have a really big problem with that. Like, Guild Wars 2 does scale pretty well, but even then, like, it's just so difficult to do an MMO world justice in the scale it needs to be. Because there's also that balance of, you know,
Pagothan, thank you,
player travel that you have to consider.
Yeah, it's a big problem. I mean, I'm old school. I really don't mind hopping on a griffin and waiting 15 minutes to traverse the continent. I'll get a coffee, I'll talk to my friends in guild chat. It doesn't bug me, but I think it does bug the majority of players who have limited time.
I would literally not be able to play if there was that many waits.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you know,
it is what it is.
In the game I'm referencing, obviously.
I like that they have things like chocobo porters that you can just say, my character doesn't want to teleport. Yeah. I can just hop on a chocobo porter. That's like the option's there, but it's not like forced on you. I approve of that kind of thing.
I actually chocobo porters sometimes. Like if I need to AFK, but I'm also trying to get somewhere, I'll just hop on a chocobo porter and go AFK for a few minutes to do what I need to do so that I'm, I'm making use of the system, but it works. And
Jenny brings up Warcraft flight pass that took 20 to 30 minutes. I remember flying all of Kalimdor. That took about 25 minutes, but it did have the benefit of giving the world an appropriate scale. That's one of the things I really liked about World of Warcraft.
Exactly. You can feel the distance because you're feeling the distance.
Cobb, have you taken any of the fairies in Final Fantasy XI yet?
Don't talk to me about the fairies in Final Fantasy. So my first experience, like when I first played Final Fantasy XI, I waited the 30 minutes, it showed up, and then it got attacked by sea monsters. I died and my body fell off, and this was when you had to recover your body to get all your stuff back. Mm-hmm. So I never got all my stuff back. That really sucked. And I had to have a GM actually move my body out of the ocean because, But yeah, they still take for fucking ever, and I'm so glad that they have little teleport points in 11 now, which weren't always there, because it makes life way more convenient. But yes, I've taken a ferry from, what is it, in Balcom Dunes, and the other one, Sedura or whatever.
Yeah, like, I like the ferries in 11. I really like the one that you take to get to the Ott Ergen expansion areas, but that one is very, very long, and there is a notorious monster that can spawn on that ferry, so like you have to be very careful if you go above deck when you take that ferry.
Careful, huh?
Yes.
How dare.
Well,
You can't stop me.
we're at about a 10-minute warning. Do you want to talk about writing fanfic, that kind of stuff, Arden? Since we don't
Well,
have to,
I was
we can
gonna
skip
say
it.
we're going to do actual coverage, so maybe save all that fun stuff.
Well, that's a good
for-
announcement. Hit it.
Yeah. We haven't decided the format yet, so if people want to give us feedback in Discord and let us know how you would like to consume your information on fanfics and their relation to lore
What you'd
and
like
how
to
you
see.
can and all that, and hit us up in Discord, let us know, because we could do actual episodes on it, we could do it the style of our Between the Lines videos, we could try something else, so let us know what you'd like to see.
We could just directly help depending on the project, because, like, for example, I know I don't consider myself a writer, but I'm a concept artist by job, and I know how to world build and character build. So in that sense, I can help, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, we have total freedom. Sorry for any disappointments, but it's been a great discussion. I'm having a blast. So, got 23 people. I saw 27 earlier, so it's good. It's good. Thanks for hanging out. Please do join our Discord. I'm not turning off the stream or anything, but I just want to make sure you have the opportunity. It is discord.gg/lorelinesxiv. It's a
Yes, that dog drifting. Yes.
glamour link.
I saw.
Join up. Let's talk.
The Discord is quite massive, so even if you get your role, there is a lot of channels to go through, and you'll even probably find some that tickles your fancy in other games too. We have a Nier channel, we have a Pokemon channel, just other games too. So we are not afraid to talk in any of them. Do not be afraid to kind of throw out your opinions in them. We do not witch hunt.
Be not afraid.
We encourage people to throw out their opinions, whether they're good, bad, or neutral.
Great.
Oh, that phrasing. We encourage people to throw out their opinion.
Yeah, toss them out.
Toss them in the trash.
Cobra.
Especially
But,
if you're a fan of Vanille.
But
Yeah,
Neil fan?
I concur.
I mean, it makes sense for us because more often than not, we've paralleled other games with lore in terms to 14. We do know that the 14 team, the creative unit, business unit 3, takes seriously about studying other games. So whenever we go around and we say, "Hey, this game has a lot of story that reminds me of," or Ayumi going through Assassin's Creed Odyssey and stuff, which is Greek lore and stuff and the like, and in that sense, that's why we kind of started the streams of other games from a lore-wise kind of approach to, like, telling the story and going over parallels too if we find some, and also because, well, we are fans of the games, but there's that, so there's basically the reason, actually.
Foul, it's your problem. It's your fault, rather, if you haven't played Lost Ark or Elden Ring recently.
I'm really sorry, guys. I've just been so busy, and I won't waste your time with the details. But this month has been nuts. Good stuff, bad stuff, just regular real life stuff. Late bedtimes for the kids. There's reasons I haven't been streaming, but I do want to get back on the Elden Ring train. It's a blast. Sometimes I'm funny. I'm usually not, but you can laugh at my expense in those cases, so it's fine.
Answering stuff from the chat. Who of you do fanfic 14 fanfic writing?
On the cast?
Arden? Huh?
On the cast?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's Sarah, Arden, and Neela.
Neela?
I do awful fanfic writing, though. I'm starting up a bigger one here soon once I get the other person that's
Good.
writing with me.
Excellent.
In fact, I've got Neela's links in the presentation. Let me go through these slides really quick.
I don't write 14 fanfic.
Neil does write, but not 14 yet.
Yes.
Shut up, Jenny. Your writing's good too. Your writing is fantastic.
I write. Honestly, at this point, like I said, I hesitate to call them fanfiction because they're actually massive projects involving art, involving real plots. And not that to say that fanfiction doesn't have real plots.
Sounds like that's what you're saying.
Huh?
Yeah, fan fiction is defined as anything done by a fan that is not in the established canon and is an add-on, and they have no responsibility or duty to make it a real thing.
I know. It's just that the usual conception of fan fiction, and that's why I'm kind of hesitant to call it like that. Not in any sort of. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't apply to the genre.
Well,
most of mine involves mostly Hilda, so just
be prepared for
don't read it.
For half-elf sexy time.
That's another.
What? No.
They're cute.
No, just look at my Twitter. You can find out what I write about.
You don't have to be shy, Ayumi. It's okay.
Literally, just
okay.
check
I
out my
write
Twitter.
filth.
Check out my screenshot.
You write filth.
I also write
Thank
some
you.
really sweet stuff and some really angsty stuff and a lot of exploratory. I write a little of everything, honestly.
Yeah, that's another thing.
And a lot of filth.
Most of fan fiction that at least I see is basically shipping, and whereas I write couples that exist in the game, I just stick to canon basically, and I don't write shipping, so I don't. And so like I said, I don't know where I should.
Oh, Meow, just link your
my
page with your 30 million characters. They'll understand immediately.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no. At some point, we just need to see
Long
it.
story short, Meowth prefers canon compliant fan fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that. Yeah.
Wait, you mean you don't like the world-breaking stuff?
Cobran, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
I don't think you saw it in chat, but somebody said they would absolutely buy a wall tapestry of Urianje's Ethereological Wheel.
Now. I already told her.
Yeah, get on it.
She's already working on it.
What? Why didn't I think of that?
That was quick.
That's clever.
Because then, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I want one too.
I'll pick up a poster. It'll be on my wall right there. I'm pointing. You all can see it, right? I'm pointing. Right there is where it's going.
Yep.
It's going to be something like 18 by 12. Nice little wall poster.
How big? 8 by 12?
18 by 12.
18 by 12? Okay. I have an 18 by 12 spot on my wall. So
well, right above me, I have
also
three
read a lot
pictures
of that
of,
too. I like that as well.
Yeah.
I read both kinds actually. That's why I kind of stick to my screenshots on my Twitter. And I don't really write as much because what I can convey in screenshots, what I can convey in my screenshots is better than what I can convey in actually writing. Because I'm not.
Ayumi's screenshots are phenomenal. They're just really good with the action, really good with the tenderness. It's amazing. But I will say, it's nothing wrong with writing. Even if you're not happy with it, you will get better.
A couple quick plugs, just since we're in the slideshow. Meowth is looking for commissions, so if you like any of the line art you've seen in either this full presentation or this podcast, you can find her at her Ko-fi link, ko-fi.com/shadowmeowth. She also has an art station and a DeviantArt page if you want to see what she's capable of.
Those are just
these were just for fun.
Season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old me just looks.
It's okay.
Man.
Well, it does look alien, but I still think that old Fow is stylish as fuck. So I hope you all still love your old characters.
You didn't change it all that much. That's what's funny.
Well, I did. I'm wearing the new AF gear. But it's true.
Change was me because I stick to I'm just a stickler.
Cobran does cosplay. Tends to go to a holiday matsuri in is that Orlando? Where is that at?
Yeah, it's in Orlando.
So these are some of his costumes. We've got two.
That
La
one
Habreas.
on the left was a finalist in the FanFest last year, and lost to what was it? Was it a little? It was a little kid.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. We were watching the stream, and your cosplay appeared, and the chat went nuts over your La Habrea, don't believe Idol's lies thing. But in the end, the devs chose the other.
Yeah, but they talked about me. And also, the Estinian actually won in, 2019? It was Final 6 on stage in Las Vegas.
And
really
isn't
good.
your Eye of Nidhogg gone and sitting on...
Yes, Foxconn has it on his desk at the Square Enix office in Shinjuku.
That's really brilliant. You should You should Twitter mention and ask for a picture someday.
Oh, he's posted like 50 of them.
Oh,
on his
really?
Twitter.
Still?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
In addition to posting pics about his dog and food.
Yeah, he's including both. He actually had a span of about 2 months where every single picture he posted had the eye in it.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
People would not leave me alone about it. They're like, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see this?" And I was like, "Oh God, just please stop."
So on the next page, also related to Cobran, his wife Isomo does amazing 3D. You can talk about this if you want, but if you've seen that Elpis mask around, this is the originator.
She's done the Elpis mask. She did all the Bun Boy armor. She does amazing sculptures digitally. She did one of Heidelin that she's working on a figure for. That's absolutely astounding. And she just does absolutely amazing work. And Vinas sword, which I'm gonna be making at some point here whenever I get everything cleared up.
Cobb.
What?
Does your wife take Final Fantasy 13 commissions?
How did I know that was coming?
She could, I'm sure.
How did I know?
I'm so predictable.
I guess.
It's about 10 times a stream. Not shaming you.
I'm just.
Wow,
I'm,
Sugoi.
Wow, Sugoi.
I'm just preparing the grounds for tomorrow because I know what Cobran is releasing.
Is it gonna be I'm just gonna say a bow that turns, or a Moogle that turns into a bow, maybe vice versa. And
I meant the video you're prepared with.
oh yes, that's fun. So I made a retrospective about everything that Final Fantasy 13 stole from Final Fantasy 14, and I put it all together. It'll be on YouTube on Thursday. It'll go live, but we'll be playing at the beginning of stream tomorrow. So
I can hear Meowth rubbing her hands from here.
Then Cobb asked me for a cameo, and I one-up him, and there's that, okay?
You gave me exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, true.
And just the two final updates, and I promise we won't do this every stream, but it's just such an opportunity. Arden has a VT card, so if you want to know more about Arden, go to that link there. And then Neela's fanfiction is on archiveofourown.org/users/Neela/works. So I guess with that, we'll close out the stream. As usual, we will have an update on topics and timelines, but we are always here Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, so please come back and tell your friends about us, and thank you all for being here.
I will say we are planning something big for the 21st, right before the patch, so please look forward to that.
I'm really excited.
We're excited to
Please
announce
look
it. We're
forward to
waiting,
it.
but we're excited. So please keep an eye on us. Join our Discord. Do all the things, and we're gonna raid the con. So
Yeah.
we're gonna set that up now, and then as soon as credits finish, we'll pop over to Lunarcon 1. So, been an absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks for being with us, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. It was really fun having nice discussions in chat.
Nice to have a 2-day weekend with everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey.
A lot of bread spec, Jenny.
A lot of bread, yeah. You'll see it.
So how many? Yeah, so
Almost an
it's
hour
going
of
to
bread
be-
spec.
It's going to be like going. It's basically interesting seeing how people are very hungry for La Bread's baguette.
Absolutely.
Hey, I kept myself on a very good leash today. I stayed appropriate.
What will happen in episode 69, I wonder?
No.
We're done. I feel like Ralph Wiggum right now at the back of the school bus because I'm doing this costume.
Don't worry, Cobb. I know the difference between a character and a cosplayer.
Thank you.
Respect your cosplayers. They're not the characters.
You're making
They're
me
just
dread
people being
4
cool.
episodes from now.
You should.
All right,
should.
we're gonna close out. I'll go to Lunar
Yes.
Con Official 2. Lunar 1 is down, and we will start a raid as soon as it's ready. Thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you next time. Go on to credits. Have fun at the convention, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Right.